there's so much letting go that's needed for all of us if we really want to fulfill and have the most enriching, beautiful, amazing, fulfilling lives. And I just want to honor you for being someone that's been able to do that. It's incredible, and it's so rare.
Well, that's why I'm also with this show. It's called A Drug Called Fame, because there's still this part of me that wants to be, famous Hollywood star, Broadway star on the West End, having hundreds of thousands of people know who I am. But then in reality, I'm the most fulfilled when I have what I call my heart people and my heart audience around me. And usually that comes in about an audience size of about 50 to 150. Also, why even for our wedding, we chose the number of people that we did. We knew that we wanted between 50 and 150 people because we knew that that was the kind of number where we could really just have that intimacy and connection while still have a fun vibe. Because obviously for me, if I did a show and I had 10 people in the audience with applause and laughter and all those things, it just wouldn't have the same impact as if there was at least 50 to 100 people in the room. So, yeah. And then there's also my ego that gets involved and wants to have as many people, come and see me as possible. So, yeah, that's a constant wrestle for me as well.
The first thing that you mentioned when we got on and started chatting before we pressed record was that you were right in the middle of doing your photo shoot when I messaged you about coming on this podcast, and you were in your heart, you're in your flow, and you were doing what you love, and then boom, it happened. And I feel like with your capacity now, it seems like even though you're aware of that ego and it's there, that you also have enough awareness to be able to come back to your heart. I feel like the less attached you are, you probably will actualize a fair bit of fame. Like if I had to put money on it, I feel like you will cultivate a fair bit of fame over the next 20, 30 years in your life.
Well, the funniest thing, Ryan, is that I always dreamt of being famous from, a young girl at 4 years of age, watching Young Talent Time, watching Kylie Minogue, Dannii Minogue, Madonna. And then when I was about 25, 26, I saw The Secret for the first time, the movie The Secret. And I started for the very first time doing affirmations and doing the vision boards. And within a couple of months, I got my very first international performing gig in India, where I was performing in front of 40,000 people. And I had people holding up signs saying, Claire Elizabeth Dee is better than Angelina Jolie. I mean, if you've got someone holding up that sign, I mean, you're considered famous, right? And in India, like we all were on the front covers of magazines, we're in newspapers in Australia and all the stuff. But when you ask me about those 7 weeks in India, they were the worst 7 weeks of my life. Like all of the stuff that was happening in the background, like not realizing that my partner was cheating on me back home, while also watching all of these sportsmen that I was at all these parties with because of what I was doing, were also all cheating on their partners and just having a really horrible time. I didn't really gel or vibe with the girls that I was performing with. And I just felt like I was leaving the entertainment industry to move into the personal development world. And I just felt so alone. And if it wasn't for an iPod with about 20, 30 great songs on it, I don't know how I would have got through those 7 weeks in India. It was really awful, to the point, because we were so famous, we'd go into a bathroom and there would be men that would be just hiding out in the toilet to try and attack us, rape us, do all of the things. And so it was really, really scary as well. So that's when I've also learned that there's the shadow of fame. And if you're not actually really centered and you're not coming from your heart and you don't have a good relationship with all of those inner archetypes and inner voices, then fame is going to be really, really challenging. So it's just such an interesting topic for me, because I've always wanted fame, but then with my whole story of also only developing one breast and not wanting everyone to know my story, then I did everything to make sure I didn't get famous in my 20s. So it's just been such a parallel. Like, yeah, just so confusing.
What advice would you give to someone that's listening to this who has dreams and kind of feels disappointed that they haven't actualized? They might feel far from those outcomes that they desire and can sometimes be a bit harsh on themselves. What would you tell them from based on your experience of wrestling with these things?
Well, as I said, I always dreamt of the Hollywood dream and the Broadway dream. And when I actually got real with myself, I saw that my daily habits and behaviors weren't actually really leading me to those goals. And the reason was because they were so ego driven and they were such a fantasy that they weren't really coming from my heart. And so when I actually started creating what I call heart goals rather than head and fantasy, and then I take intuitive action from my heart and I just do it a day at a time. And I remind myself that there isn't a time clock, that I don't actually have control of how long this will take and what success looks like. Because from people on the outside, a lot of people would say with lots of things that I've done, well, you've experienced fame and you've experienced success and I've made money throughout like my time throughout what I've done. But then for me, I'm like, I haven't achieved anything of what I really wanted to achieve. But that's because I'm going back to my head and my fantasy. If I go back to my heart, what my heart wants to create, I realize every day I'm living my heart dreams. And the more that I just follow those actions from my heart, I am successful because I'm fulfilled. And so I know that's a big part of what you're really interested in at the moment is fulfillment. And for me, it's creative fulfillment, as long as I'm creatively fulfilled. So I'm doing my singing practice and I'm writing my posts on social media and I'm spending time with my dog and I'm going out with my friends for a dance and I get to hang out with Ryan in the spa and have a chat about entrepreneurship, like all the things that my heart wants to do. As long as I'm doing them, I am successful. It's the day-to-day things. And yeah, and for me, I guess another bit is just staying sober with my addictive patterns. And as long as I'm staying sober there, I find that also my heart goals and heart dreams come true a lot quicker. And yeah.
I'm so grateful that you're on the podcast today and that everyone that's listening gets to hear you share that embodied message that you just shared, because that is so next level. And that's what I admire. One of the things I admire about you so much is your wisdom that you've gleaned through being courageous consistently in your life and having the humility and openness to continue to reflect and refine your approach to life. It's incredible. And the vulnerability that comes from that is so inspiring. So thanks for sharing that message. As you know, it's very aligned with what I share and just so beautiful. And I feel like the key distinction is that you're prioritizing how you feel and the quality of your life, not playing for some future. Like you mentioned the future fantasy. And I feel like it's a blind spot that people don't really acknowledge in life. It can be so easy without even thinking about it to just be driving for some future thing that they just are guessing it's going to make them feel a certain way and completely disconnecting from what's right in front of them.